Long ball forward, we're underway here. Notts have taken the kick off, and Michael Doyle shifts it out to the right hand side. It's a neat little ball to Brindley, now to Enzio, down the right wing, straight on the front foot as he approaches the byline, and got unlucky there. He tried to win either a corner or a throw in, and in the end a double ricochet has meant that it's gone out for a Halifax throw. Right next to their corner flag, away to our left hand side. Starting to lose the light here already, such as the time of year, and I'm not sure these floodlights are the best sell that we've ever seen, so it'll be quite interesting when it's pitch black come 4:15 or so, to see what we can make out in the distance in the gloom here. Throwing's taken, big battle there between Wootton and one of these centre halves. The man in blue for Halifax won it, and then perhaps a bit frustrated that he didn't win the earlier collision, has then given a free kick away, which is about 5 or 6 yards outside of the Halifax 18-yard box. One of the things I'm looking at the bench this afternoon, Mark Stella, is quite an interesting selection on that bench. Keane's on there, so's Kelly Evans, Crawford, Bird and Dennis. I don't think anybody can question the need for a Bird on there, or Dennis, Jake Keane obviously, but interesting that Tom Crawford is the one that got the nod rather than young Sam Osborne, who set up the goal last Saturday. Yeah,
a couple of strange things. We had word early on that there might have been a couple of different names on there, but yeah, we've seen Nathan Tyson here, we've seen Sam Osborne here, and Zamana Bakayoko, 3 players doing a bit of running before the game, not involved.
Bakayoko tries to get an early cross into the penalty area. It deflects off of a Halifax foot, and that takes the sting out of that cross. It flies high in the air and straight into the gloves of the goalkeeper Sam Johnson. Used to be at Alfreton and Port Vale, being pretty much an ever-present in between the sticks for the Shay men so far this season. He wears a bright yellow kit. Toby Show Silva barges into the back of Doyle. There wasn't a huge amount of contact there. Show Silva's a big guy. Excuse me, Doyle is not, but it wasn't anything to do with physicality there that sent him down. More experience.
Yeah, that's it. Michael Doyle just using his experience, getting his body in the way, waiting for the contact from Show Silva. As you say, a big striker who's just playing in the hole. He's just playing in behind Mikulski, who's going to play the furthest man forward in this 4-2-3-1 formation for Halifax. Michael Doyle just using all his experience, drawing the foul, and a little bit of frustration early on from Toby Show Silva.
I think I choked nearly on a biscuit crumb then. Thanks for stepping in.
You're welcome.
Back to McCrory, who in turn finds Lacey, and Show Silva charges him down, goes all the way back towards Fitzsimons, who gets his first competitive touch since early April of this year. So very firmly out in the cold has he been. Alex Lacey comes across, does well. Won a couple of aerial collisions early on. He's not the biggest of centre-halves, but he is mobile, gets around the pitch, and not afraid to throw what weight he does have about.
Yeah, a bit of a difference from Ben Turner back there, certainly size-wise, but I think you'd have to say as well, Alex Lacey, one of these centre-halves, a modern-day centre-half, if you like, who looks fairly comfortable in possession of the ball from what we've heard about him and what we've seen of him in the fleeting glimpses we've seen so far. Hopefully he can fit in, slot in. He's playing that left side of the two centre-halves. Cano Rawlinson on the right. Hopefully he can slot in without any problem.
4 minutes about to tick over as Halifax win their first corner of the game. McCrory making a tackle on Jamie Allen, former Rochdale man. He wears the 7 on his back. 7 always seems to carry a bit more weight on the back. 7, 9, 10, those sort of shirt numbers you always look out for. And the number 7, Jamie Allen, will take the corner that he's just won as well. With 4 minutes gone, it's still goalless here. And it's an outswinging corner towards the back stick. Conor Rawlinson battling with one of the Halifax centre-halves. It was Matt Brown, who hit the deck, looked to the referee expectantly. The referee waved his arms and wasn't interested in it for a moment. For Ross Fitzsimons, who's been, I mean, it's an expression I've already used this afternoon, but firmly out in the cold, how does he get his head around suddenly being back in goal again?
Well, he's a professional. He's got to get his head around it, and maybe, you know, we assume he's had meetings and conversations with Neil Ardley this week. You know, he's got to be thankful of getting this chance, because he looked so far out of it with the goalkeeping coach Jake Keane coming in and being the number 2 when there was a keeper on the bench. But Ross Fitzsimons has effectively been third choice keeper for this season, so he's got to be glad of a start and a chance to kick-start and resurrect his career.
been quite a physical approach from Notts that I've noticed in the first 5 minutes of this game. Wootton has thundered into a couple of aerial challenges, and Lacey has done likewise. I wonder if, for what they're lacking perhaps at the moment in finesse, they're trying to make up for in physicality, and that's never a bad thing at this level of football.
No, certainly not. I think
based on that.
When you come to Halifax, you know, traditionally this sort of area of the world, this part of the country, they don't give you anything lightly, and you've got to earn and work hard and fight for everything. And traditionally teams in this area, they are solid and they scrap and they battle and they'll make you work hard, and Notts have got to be up for that. They've got to win that battle early on, and they've started reasonably well, haven't they? Tried to get on the front foot right from the kick-off. Notts, neither team really creating anything, but you know, it's going to be a physical battle. You played here, haven't you? But albeit in a reserve game. A million years ago, yeah, a million years ago for a reserve game for Derby. Yeah, I think there was only one stand here at the time, and there was it used to have I'm sure it is like a cinder track around it, or an old track. It was a bit exposed and a bit open anyway, from what I remember, but nice ground now. Yeah, indeed. Speaking of Derby, they're 1-0 down at Reading this afternoon. The other games that we'll keep you an eye on, Forester at Huddersfield, which is only 5.5 miles away from here. Meanwhile, Mansfield, under Graham Coughlin for the first time, have got Northampton at home. Rawlinson shifts the ball out to Brindley on the right wing, who tried to fire it first time into the feet of NCO Baldwin, but Baldwin couldn't control it. Should have done, but didn't. And the Shaman will clear. Now with Rose, who's from not too far away from here, so no doubt the family will be here in support of him this afternoon. Now with Shields, who has it on the halfway line. Back to Rose once more, under immediate pressure inside the centre circle, waits for a bit of contact in the back and quickly goes down. The man delivering the contact, Niall Mayer, on that occasion. It's now with Thomas, who's dropped in between the lines of defenders and midfielders. He plays it out to Shields on the left wing. He's got a man to beat in front of him. He tries to get to the byline, clips the ball in, but it's straight into the hands of the goalkeeper. Touched too close on that occasion, but it's always encouraging to see the wingers get it wide early on. I'd love to see more of that from this Neil Ardley team. Yeah, that's it. And what they did do there, and what enabled them to have that space and get the ball out to Sean Shields in a little bit of space, was they moved the ball quickly, zipped it across the turf. You know, Mitch Rose wins the foul in the centre circle, quickly hand on and get playing again. And as you say, Wes Thomas drops into the hole between the Halifax back four and their two defensive or deeper line midfield players, and allows them to turn and switch the play. And I say Shields did all right, got to the byline, unfortunately just hung his cross up too close to Sam Johnson in the Halifax goal, who's able to claim it. But better speed, better tempo about the passing early on from Notts there. Good following of Notts County supporters away to our right hand side. Some of those are in the kind of safe standing terraced area, and away to our right in the same stand of us there are probably a couple 300 more in the seated area. Baldwin's won it on the right wing. He's sprinting towards the edge of the Halifax penalty area. It goes to Wootton briefly, and now it's back to the Dutchman inside the area, shoots with the left foot. Oh, it's cracked Mayer right where it hurts inside the penalty area, and he's still down. He slowly gets up, and meanwhile Halifax are on the break with men down the right hand side, and Mikulski's the man who's in possession. He was held up briefly and now switches it across to the left hand side to Williams. Now down the left channel for Show Silver, who shoots straight into the gloves of the goalkeeper Ross Fitzsimons. Well, end-to-end play, wasn't it? Originally NCO Baldwin trying a shot, got blocked, as you say. Niall Mayer feeling the effects of that, but then Halifax straight down the other end, moved the ball well. And Notts looking for an offside flag that wasn't coming. Show Silver eventually with his shot from a tight angle straight at Ross Fitzsimons, the first real save of any note that the Notts keepers had to do, one you'd expect to make, and probably a nice save to have to make early on, just get a feel for the ball, and it's a nice safe handling straight at his body. But yeah, Halifax showing they've got a bit of pace on the counter-attack. Now watch Toby Show Silver earlier on when the stadium was closed. There was probably only 15 people or so around the pitch at that point, a couple of stewards and you know, myself getting set up for the commentary this afternoon. I watched Toby Show Silver on the pitch on his own with his headphones on for probably 20 minutes. He was out there, I think, just sort of visualising things. I know it's one of the things that sports psychologists are quite keen on in this day and age, visualising how you're going to be successful. And he was standing in areas of the pitch where he was, you know, trying to fake runs that he would go on, and kicking an invisible ball at times. And you know, he never gave the ball away once now.
Sorry, you said that earlier on. Now it's Wes Thomas, edge of the penalty area, tries to nip it away from a Halifax man, throws himself to the ground and has landed awkwardly. He's still rolling around and he's clutching his ankle at the moment. I must say, I didn't think he got caught, but his reaction since and the fact that he's still down would suggest otherwise. Meanwhile, end-to-end as it was a few moments ago, Shay Silva has now bought himself a free kick next to the byline, just outside of the penalty area. Referee wasn't going to give it, but the linesman has been sold a duffin on that occasion. Meanwhile, Thomas is now back up to his feet with a bit of a hobble.
Well, I'll be honest, two fouls there, well, not fouls as it turned out, but neither of them looked convincing. Wes Thomas looking for one on the edge of the Halifax penalty area, looked like he just knocked the ball too far and threw himself down in an effort to win the free kick, didn't get one. But then up at the other end, the linesman's fell for one there. Shay Silva, the slightest of nudges by the byline, by the corner of the penalty area, where it joins with the byline, and the linesman at the opposite end went for it, and Halifax have got almost like a short corner from the joint of the penalty area with the byline.
Yeah, right on the byline. This one will be taken. You do wonder what officials are looking at when they give free kicks for that sort of stuff, when it's so obviously been bought. Mitch Rose did it before as well. Here comes the free kick, be it a little in-swinger at the near post. It was abysmal, and Brindley has nodded it away. It floated 10 yards through the air straight to Brindley's head, and he's nodded it clear straight back to the man who took it, who's now that is a foul, bundled straight through the back of Baldwin, and that'll be a free kick for Notts.
Yeah, I think Danny Williams just a bit of frustration from his poor delivery from that free kick, and give the ball away to Enzo Baldwin, and just brought him down, ankle tap, and thought, we'll forget about that last 10 seconds. Not his best.
Possibly not. We're coming up to about 3:15 on your Saturday afternoon, last match day before Christmas. But we'll be back with you on BBC Radio Nottingham on Boxing Day from 2 o'clock. Forest are at Hull, Mansfield have got Vale, and we have got Maidenhead at Meadow Lane. Play Maidenhead twice over the festive break, once on Boxing Day and the return leg down at Maidenhead on New Year's Day, and boy, we're thrilled for that one. Long dropping ball up over the top as Williams bundles into the back of Brindley once again. He's a bit like Crash Bandicoot, the way he's conducted himself out there in the last couple of minutes, is young Danny Williams. Say young, he's my age, he's 31, so he's not that young anymore, but I'm young to style. And,
you have to tell me about this Crash Bandicoot as well. But
it was a PlayStation game back in the day, mate. Yeah. Anywho, free kick Notts. We've played 12.5 minutes. It's still goalless here. We'll check in with Jake shortly to see how the Stags are getting on against Port Vale. Graham Coughlin in charge of his first Mansfield game this afternoon after John Dempster was sacked a week ago. That came after a 1-1 draw at Crewe. It's with Sean Shields on the halfway line, keeps hold of it long enough to draw a couple of players towards him before then finding Richard Brindley on the right wing. Now to Doyle, got bright orange boots, does the Irishman. Back to Lacey, bright yellow ones. I'll stop there. Now to McCrory, to Shields on the left wing, turns the ball round the corner, right idea, cleared away, and that'll go out for a throw. And let's check in with Jake, we'll find out how the Stags are getting on. The Ginger Messi.
I'm saying if Crash Bandicoot's getting a mention in the first 15 minutes, it's not been the greatest.
It's not been a great start, has it? Good stuff, thank you very much, Jake. It's probably not been quite as entertaining here, hence the Crash Bandicoot reference that has already popped out. Goalless everywhere in the Premier League as well, so nowhere is exactly thrilling or lighting up English football so far today. The two lunchtime kickoffs, Everton-Arsenal was 0-0, and in the Championship, Cardiff-Preston was also 0-0. As I mentioned earlier on, Derby are losing already at Reading by 1-0. QPR are beating Charlton 1-0. And Fulham are leading against Leeds in the Championship. 5.5 mile away from here, it's goalless between Huddersfield and Nottingham Forest. The beat on the way on BBC Radio Nottingham from 6 o'clock this evening. Final beat before Christmas. They'll take you all the way through until 10 o'clock. Throw in here, meanwhile, for Halifax, deep in Notts territory, away to our right-hand side. Mikulski shifts it back, and they go down that right-hand side before a long ball up towards the edge of the Notts penalty area. They head it clear briefly, but comes back out to Hansen on the right wing, tries to carry it past Shields, and then plays a bit of a dodgy ball through the middle of midfield. But they ride the lock, and Staunton somehow smuggles the ball out onto the left-hand side. 15 minutes gone, he plays the ball in. But Ross Fitzsimons comes out and claims that confidently, and you wonder, Mark Stollard, how many these early touches that he's getting, even so they're not exactly from threatening situations, will help to give him a bit of confidence in these early stages.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. You know, the shot from Shay Silver early on from the inside left straight at him just gets him at his first handling of the ball, you know. And that there, just a floated cross that he came and collected comfortably. Well, just build his confidence for a lad that's not been in the starting lineup for a long time.
There's Thomas in possession on the left wing for Notts. He's got 8 goals so far this season for the Magpies. Now to Mitchell Rose, dead centre of the half, being told to shoot. He never should have, but he did in the end. It got blocked. It came out onto this left-hand side for the Irishman, Damien McCrory. Now to Shields, turns. Cruyff turns back out onto the left wing, gives it to McCrory, looking for the return pass. He's sprinting to try and keep it in, and he will do. Gets the cross in, but never really managed to wrap his foot around that one, so it didn't have a huge amount of power or pace on it, so it was easily cut out. Although Notts were briefly back in position on the halfway line, neither side can keep hold of it for the time being, and it's now with Allen on the Halifax right, and back across to Matt Brown, the big burly number 5, who used to make a living at Chester and Southport, comes from that neck of the woods over in the northwest. Now to Hansen. Staunton, back to Hansen again on the right wing, and they build all the way back towards the goalkeeper. Halifax finished 15th last season in the National League, as Kyle Wotton again flew in and nearly caught Clark, the Halifax defender. It's now Rose out to Brindley on the right, and back to Rose once more, level with the halfway line. As I mentioned earlier on, the Shay men started this season like bat out of hell, if you will. They won 7 of their first 9, but they've been very poor since October, and have won only 1 of their last 10 prior to last Saturday, when they won 4-0 in the FA Trophy against a much changed Wrexham side, for whatever that is worth. Notts are trying to get the ball into the feet of the strikers Thomas and Wotton, both with their back to goal, but so far getting little joy out of it. Every time Halifax win it back, they promptly give it away again. Back into the feet once more of Wotton. Now to Baldwin, poor touch out of his feet, he has to slide to keep a hold. It's now with Brindley and Rose and Doyle in the middle of the park, 10 yards or so inside the Halifax half. That's a nice ball out to the left wing. Lovely ball from the Irishman. Can McCrory do likewise? No, he can't. He knocks it up over the top of Clark and Wotton's head, and the left full-back Duckworth is forced to put it behind for a first corner of the game for Notts. Yeah,
good play by Notts. Better play there. Ball went into Wes Thomas a moment or two ago, and it's not been sticking first 10 or 15 minutes. That one did. It came back out. Michael Doyle, and he hit one of these 40-yard diagonal passes to Damien McCrory, who's able to have a high starting position because Notts have retained the ball, and his cross just beyond everyone, but turned behind by Duckworth to give Notts their first corner.
They like a talent announcement here. 18.5 gone. We've had 2, one for the yellow team leader and now for the green team leader. If somebody's playing paintball around us, or there's a problem. Short corner into McCrory, takes a touch out of his feet, and Shay Silver is right on top of him, and Halifax clear it away. Bit of a foot race for the ball, but Fitzsimons will get there first, and not only does he clear it off the pitch, but he manages to get it onto the old roof of the old stand opposite, sort of tin roof that sits on top of that largely abandoned stand. There are only 4 people sat in it, and I think they work for the club in some former capacity. 19 minutes on the clock here. It remains goalless. The manager of Halifax is Pete Wild. He was at Oldham and oversaw quite a heavy victory for Oldham over Notts last season. Doesn't really narrow it down. There were many that not suffered last season, but he did a really good job there. He was the academy manager, and then when a manager got sacked, he came in, did really well, and then they gave it to Paul Scholes, and then he left, and they gave it him back again, and he did really well, but decided to leave for personal reasons in May, before then taking the job here at Halifax in the July. As I say, they started very well, but since then the wheels have fallen off the wagon. Incidentally, you can buy wagon wheels in the old school tuck shop at the stadium here this afternoon. Can you tell not much
Crash
is happening on the
Bandicoot
pitch
and
still?
wagon wheels already, mate. I think that tells you exactly in the first 20 minutes what we've had at the start of this game. It's been
it's disjointed.
Yes, it certainly is, yeah. As we see passes just not finding the man, are they? You know, neither team really able to retain possession in any dangerous part of the field, certainly. I think both teams allowing the opposition to have it in safe areas around the halfway line, but as soon as it gets around the penalty area so far, the door's been shut.
Nice ball from Wootton out to Brindley on the right wing, clipped and curled over the top of a Halifax defender's head, but Brindley's ball into the penalty area was not so good. Halifax clear it, and back to Notts we are once more, who have set up camp inside the Halifax half at the moment. Doyle to McCrory on the left hand side, another ball into the area. That's not a bad one, but none of the Notts front men could attack it quickly enough, and so Halifax scramble it away onto this left hand side. The throw-in's taken quickly. Doyle's going to try his luck with a ball. That's a really good one, and Wes Thomas should have done much better with his header as he blazed it over the top.
Oh, best chance of the game so far. Great ball in from Michael Doyle, who's hit the two passes of the game. Really, that diagonal ball just 5 minutes or so ago out to Damien McCrory, and then from a throw-in, a lovely out-swinging left-footed cross, finding the hands of Wes Thomas, and it's one of them. He needs to get a glancing header on it, tries to turn his neck and get his neck muscles behind it. Far too much of a solid contact, and never going to trouble Sam Johnson in the Halifax goal. But first real sight of goal of anything dangerous from a Notts perspective.
Doyle back in possession once more to Lacey, and now Rose inside of their own half. 22 minutes on the clock here. Goalless still between the two sides, but Notts have grown into this one quite nicely over the last 5 minutes or so. To Baldwin on the right hand side, tried to find Wootton, didn't, and in the process Staunton goes out of the over the outstretched leg of the Notts striker, still on loan from Scunthorpe. He's done well though, 9 goals for his 25 appearances so far this season.
It's just things like that where Notts just need to sharpen up, you know, just make it a little bit better. Enzo down the right hand side, about level with the Halifax penalty area, tries to roll the ball 15 yards along the floor to Carl Wootton, doesn't quite find his man, it's a yard away from him. And in stretching to try and get the ball, Carl Wootton hangs out a leg and allows the Halifax defensive midfielder Staunton something to go over and win a free kick, and immediately a potential attack comes to nothing. And you know, that's sort of symptomatic of the game so far from both teams. You know, whenever they've got into dangerous areas, the passing just hasn't been crisp enough or accurate enough.
Well, the home side are on the ball at the moment on the Halifax left. Lots of green shirts back there for Notts, trying to get around it, but Show Silver has snuck behind them and stayed on side. Cross into the area towards the back post, towards Allen, who controls it. He's got 3 men on him as they chase him out to this right-hand side. Still on the ball until he loses his footing, and that surrenders possession back to Notts. Shields tries to clear it away down that left-hand side, but it's only gone as far as Hanson. Now to Staunton, who turns round the corner, tries to get past McCrory, who puts his body in the way. Staunton goes down, touches his nose or his mouth, and suggests that maybe he got an outstretched arm, but he's all right. He's back up to his feet. There was a brief shout for a penalty from a few Halifax supporters, but I don't think their heart were in it.
No, Staunton didn't react, to be fair to him. He turned, he knew immediately he'd let the ball run away from him. Damien McCrory does exactly what a good, decent defender would do, put his body across. Staunton just runs into him, goes down. To be fair, he didn't appeal for any penalty or anything. Just realised he'd let the ball get away from him.
Wootton challenging for another header. Doesn't win that one, but it will be a throw-in for Notts. McCrory wants to take it quickly. He's got Wootton, Thomas and Shields to aim at. Doyle was a touch further in field. Rose makes himself available as well. In the end, he'll go to Wootton, who controls the ball half on his chest, half on his shoulder. Back to McCrory, back to Wootton once more, back to goal, left-hand side of the penalty area, about 10 yards away from the edge of the 18-yard box, and they work it all the way back into the centre circle in the end. The Welshman Conor Rawlinson on the ball for Notts. Now Doyle captain's armband strapped to his right bicep. He finds Shields, who's going to try and beat a couple of blue shirts. He beats one. Second one was Hansen, who makes a slide tackle and puts it out for another Knox throw that McCrory comes across and takes. Shields again in motion, but there isn't a huge amount of movement from any of the other players in green today. For Knox, they find Wootton again down by the byline in the bottom left-hand corner, and Wootton can't control it. It runs behind for another goal kick. 25 minutes on the clock here at the Shay. We should check in with Jake at Mansfield to find out how the Stags are getting on, to see if they have finally found a breakthrough just yet for all of the good work under the new manager Graham Coughlan. They've got Northampton this afternoon. Jake, what's the latest? He's speechless now. Have you noticed?
It must be good if he can't say anything about it. He's lost his tongue.
Yeah. I mean, he can't say any more than that. We'll go back to him in a moment.
Well, literally can't say any less than nothing.
Well, that too. Yeah. More or less. Show Silver wins a header, tries to flick it through to Mikulski. Nobody on the end of it, and so runs all the way through towards Ross Fitzsimons. He plays it out to Rawlinson. Rawlinson takes a touch out of his feet and finds Alex Lacey across towards McCrory. Not so enjoying the vast majority of the possession, Mark Stallard, but just yet to find a way through, a bit of quality maybe in that final third, which is something that we've said on so many occasions this season. Yeah,
this season, last season, for a number of seasons at Nuts, whatever league it's been in, you need that's something special in the final third to be the catalyst, to be able to break teams down. Not, as you say, enjoying possession, moving the ball quite nicely, but it's all fairly comfortable. It's all in front of Halifax. The minute they try to go in behind or through the lines is when it's been breaking down, and that's where you need that extra bit of quality.
Mitchell Rose has just spun away from two players, nutmegged another, and he's still on the ball as he now gives Enzio Baldwin it on the right wing. Back to Rose, first time cross into the area, straight into the gloves of the goalkeeper. What were you saying, Sal?
And almost as if to emphasise the point, Mitchell Rose does really well. Like you say, a little step over in the middle of the park, or the middle of Halifax defensive half, gives the ball to Enzio, gets it back under no pressure whatsoever. Just floats the ball into the arms of the Halifax goalkeeper, who doesn't have to move, just catches the ball 4 or 5 yards out from his goal, and the whole thing breaks down. And like I said, I think that's what frustrates people, fans, Notts fans particularly. We see a lot of sideways passing, a lot of that to try and create space. Then when you do create space like that, you need quality on the final ball. That's the make or break for all of it. If that's a quality ball and somebody gets a chance or an effort on goal, you go, well, that's a good build-up, that's good play. But because he just floats it into the keeper's arms, people go, well, that's a bit negative, isn't it? There's been so much sideways passing. For what? For nothing. It gets forgotten about. The final ball is the main thing. It's what it's all about.
27.5 minutes on the clock. McCrory has it on the left-hand side. It's still goalless here between Halifax and Notts. Shields has been caught in possession by Hansen. It's now with Allen on the right wing, this in front of where Neil Ardley stands. They play it forwards, up over the top, and Lacey comes forward now and heads it away. It hits the inner part of the Notts dugout, and it will be a Halifax throw that Hansen will take. 22 years old is Hansen. This is only his 4th appearance of the season so far, and used to be at Huddersfield when he was younger. Makes sense that as he's fallen down the leagues that he would end up at a place so close to the club that he started out at. Ball forward from Doyle is poor. Tried to find the onward run of Brindley, but it's given it away, and Brindley's now out of possession. And so here they come down the left-hand side with Danny Williams, who's gone quiet for the last 20 minutes since he was running around the pitch trying to hit everybody that moved, and this time his cross balloons up into the air and straight into the gloves of Ross Fitzsimons. 0-0 here. How are the Stags getting on, Jake? Thank you, Jake. Mitch Rose has just tried to chip one over the top for Wes Thomas. but he'd just gone a little early. I'm not sure he had actually, but linesman's flag went up anyway, and it'll be a free kick for the home side on the edge of their own penalty area. We made it the first half an hour, Stan.
Well, it's been scrappy, hasn't it? I think Notts have done all right. They've kept the ball, like I say, in that middle third of the pitch, up until the final third when they get around the Halifax penalty area. That they've, been fairly comfortable. Halifax a little bit more direct, but it's been scrappy, hasn't it? You can't make a case for either team really being on top. We've not really seen anything in the way of chances. Wes Thomas should have done better with a header from a good ball by Michael Doyle, and Shay Silver had a shot on target, albeit from a relatively tight angle straight at the goalkeeper, Ross Fitzsimons. So not a lot in terms of goalmouth action either end. I think from a Notts perspective, you'd say Alex Lacey's slotted in fairly well. Not had too much to do, but what he's done quietly and efficiently. But yeah, not a great deal to report on this opening half hour.
Which is difficult when that's what we're here to do, is report.
We're trying our best, mate. I'm not sure what else there is to say, though.
We'll do the scores. And in the Premier League this afternoon, the 3 o'clock kickoffs, 0-0 between Bournemouth and Burnley, 1-0 to Southampton at Aston Villa. Sheffield United are a goal up at Brighton. Goalless between Newcastle and Crystal Palace after half an hour, and 1-0 to Norwich at home against Wolves. 5:30 kickoff is Man City against Leicester. And the lunchtime game between a couple of caretaker managers ended Everton 0, Arsenal 0. There'll be a throw in here for Halifax, away to our right hand side, and Hansen will take it. Notts have switched off briefly, and Mikulski's come and got the ball and given it straight back to Hansen, but now Staunton has switched off and Notts have it back once more, though Doyle has played a ball down the left hand side that no green shirt will catch. And now the ball in the opposite direction has found Allen, who's turned out onto the right hand side and brought himself some space from McCrory. Tries to get the cross in, bounces off of the butt cheek of McCrory, who then flies into a slide tackle and wins the throw in as a result as well, right in front of the travelling Notts supporters who loved that. Yeah,
good work from McCrory. Firstly, stopping the cross at source, stopping that coming in, and then going and winning that second ball and actually winning the tackle, playing it off. Was it Jamie Allen, I think, and winning Notts the throw-in, but good full-back play. I think that's been symptomatic of the game. You would say all the defenders have been on top of their relevant attackers or opposition attackers, and that's why we've got a bit of a stalemate of a game at this moment in time. But from both teams' perspective, neither team had a win in the league since October, have they? So, despite both having FA Trophy wins last weekend, it's not so much about the performance today, as both teams desperate to get a result to get them back on positive ground.
Yeah, Halifax themselves haven't won at home in the league since the 21st of September. 6 games have passed since then. They beat Barnet that day 4-2. They have the 3rd worst form in the National League over the last 8 games. Mikulski's tried to bend his run and stay onside, which he did, but the ball won the race to Ross Fitzsimons, and he has it in his gloves now. That's funds away to our right, wanting him to get it moving, I think, as we've played just over half an hour here, 33 minutes on the clock. You're listening to Match Day on BBC Radio Nottingham. Meanwhile, Huddersfield have scored against Nottingham Forest, 5 mile away from here at the John Smith Stadium. Schindler's got the goal there. So 1-0 Huddersfield against Nottingham Forest, who could do with a result given how they went about their business last Saturday. Ball forward, headed away by central midfielder Niall Mayer. Used to be at Bolton back in the day, got a couple of goals to his name so far this season, but Notts are in possession near the halfway line with Rawlinson. Switches it across the defence to Alex Lacey as his left wrist bandaged, more for superstition I think rather than any injury. Back to Doyle. Doyle plays it out of his feet into Rawlinson, and now Brindley from left to right they go to Enzio on the right wing. He's got a man in his back, he holds him off, but another blue shirt has come across and robbed him of the ball. Now it's with Rawlinson, who turns away from Shay Silver twice. And I mentioned earlier on, Stel, the visualisation that Shay Silver was going through before the game. Were you ever one for that back in your day?
No. In a simple one-word answer, no, it wasn't my sort of thing. I say you'd have your eye on it from the night before or whenever the days before, but no, not to go out onto the pitch like he was doing, and almost looked like meditating at times, wasn't he? again, but sports science is a big thing, big part of the game now, and every player's got a different routine. Let's hope his visualisation went better than his actual performance.
Well, it looked like it did. Fitzsimons plays it long, looking for Wootton, wins the header and finds Shields in the process on the left wing, approaching the edge of the Halifax penalty area. He cuts back onto his right foot, fakes to cross it, now gives it to McCrory on the left wing as well. Looks for an option and finds one in Michael Doyle. Doyle tries to play the ball around the corner towards Shields. He does. Cross is blocked. McCrory bundles into Allen. Free kick, Halifax.
Yeah, good ball again from Michael Doyle around the corner. Just a little reverse ball inside the fullback for Sean Shields to make that little angled run in. It was good defending from Nathan Clark, actually. Went full length, got the block on his cross, and it came to nothing as Damien McCrory just nudged into the Halifax defender and conceded the free kick. But that was better, you know, more intent on the pass. Good ball from Michael Doyle again, who seems to be at the heart of, well, say most things good for Notts, but there's not been too many, but what there has been, he's been the main part of it.
His distribution has probably been at its best today from what we've seen for quite some time, as he switches it again out to the right hand side and finds Brindley, who's got 20 yards of space in front of him. He carries it that distance and keeps on going now into the half of Halifax. He plays the ball to Wootton on the edge of the penalty area. Cruyff turns and shoots, but with his left foot he never really caught hold of it, and though it only went a yard or so wide, the goalkeeper always knew it was going to do exactly that.
Yeah, again, good play though by Notts. Last 5 minutes or so, just maybe getting in the ascendancy a little bit more, enjoying the bulk of possession. Just that time spread out to the right hand side. Richard Brindley made ground, got the ball out of his feet, ran into that open space, and his ball across just outside the penalty area, controlled well by Carl Wootton as it bounced up. And then you say a little Cruyff turn onto his left foot, and he tried to bend it, never going to bring it back from there, and eventually it was 3 or 4 yards wide of the post. But better play from Notts. 36
minutes on the clock. We've got a stoppage here because Conor Rawlinson is down. He's receiving treatment from the physio, I think to a head injury by the looks of things. Yes, it is. He must have been bleeding because he's being bandaged up by the physio. Bit of a botched job on that one for the time being. I'm sure they can redo that at half time. But Pierce Bird is warming up away to our left hand side, as is Dion Kelly Evans. Bird has just been recalled from a short loan at Boston United, where he got some much needed game time. Played 4 games for the Pilgrims. A couple of those were in the FA Cup against Rochdale, where Boston came within a whisker really of a big 3rd round tie. We've played 37 minutes here, and should probably be said that Halifax, despite all the struggle, still have the 6th best defence in the National League. But again, I'm sure a lot of that is based on their early season form. The goalkeeper himself has got 7 clean sheets to his name, but again the vast majority of those came early on as form jumped off a bit of a cliff come October time. Certainly here at home, not, as I say, one since the 21st of September here, but they've got a rather famous member of their alumni in Jamie Vardy, who spent a season here back in 2010-11. Scored 25 goals that season. Ball down the left channel. Ross Fitzsimons quick out of his goal and claims it quickly, and then bowls it out just as fast as they try to hit Halifax on the break themselves. It's with Thomas on the right wing. Comes across to Doyle and now to Alex Lacey. Incidentally, Rawlinson's absolutely fine. He's been bandaged up and cracks on. They wear them as like, I don't know, badges of honour, do centre halves, those sort of scars. Wootton and Shields almost get away from a couple of blue shirts. In fact, Shields now goes down, wants a free kick, should have got a free kick, but the referee, I think, has played an advantage. It's with Thomas, right side of the penalty area. He staggers, he shoots, he fakes to, comes back to Doyle, edge of the penalty area. Shields is still getting up with quite the limp. He's now with Rose, back to Doyle once more. He's been forced wide by that ball, and Notts are going to have to go all the way back to the halfway line, which is frustrating because they had such opportunity there, you thought, for just a moment to carve up this Halifax defence. They haven't done. It's with McCrory, but at least it's patient and they're still in possession. Yeah, they kept possession. They were just struggling because Shields, who's still struggling, still limping, effectively made them a man down in an attacking sense. It's with Thomas now, right hand side of the penalty area, finds Enzio. First time cross comes, shot goes behind. I think it was meant to be a cross, but only in the end was it such a poor attempt that it's gone behind for a goal kick. And meanwhile Shields is back down, seems to be in quite some bother and the physio's going to have to come on and give him some treatment. Options on the bench this afternoon, likes of Crawford there, Dennis as well, although you'd have to probably look at fiddling with the formation a touch.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Shields looks like he's just rolled his ankle, didn't he? Went into a tackle on the edge of the D on the penalty area and stayed down, hobbling about. But there again, another example of Knots. Yeah, they were patient, went back to the halfway line, recycled it out to the left-hand side, worked it across to Enzio on the right-hand side, got that space, got that time to deliver across. This is where you want your winger to put the ball into a dangerous area. What happens? Under no pressure, fires the ball behind the goal and out for a goal kick to Halifax, and nothing comes of it. And again, it's down to that final ball, that final bit of quality. All the passing in the world that goes before it, it's still reliant on that end product, that final ball. And at this moment in time in the whole game, but certainly from a Knots perspective, they've worked the ball quite nicely, kept possession quite well, but when they've got into a dangerous area or an important area, that final ball has been nowhere near the required quality.
Shields has come off to the near touchline and is fine, and so he now makes his way back on to the pitch. And Halifax play a long ball forward, looking for Show Silva, wins the header on the way down there and then runs into Lacey, who's given away the free kick. It's about 3 or 4 yards outside of the Knots penalty area, but over to the right hand side. A left footer could certainly shoot from here, but because of the angle, probably takes it out towards the 25 to 30 yard range. Probably would look at crossing it and trying to float the ball towards the back stick. That's what the centre halves are thinking anyway as they trot forward. Matt Brown makes his way up towards the penalty area now, but Danny Williams has come across and he's all left foot, and so perhaps he is thinking of having a go at goal. There's a three-man war, they'd have to get it up or around. Ross Fitzsimons is still barking instructions. In the meantime, they are going to shoot for goal, as Fitzsimons was still a touch distracted, but it was right down his throat in the end, and an easy save for him to make. Yeah,
eventually Michael Duckworth, the left back, came and took it with his right foot, whipped it over the wall, but straight down the throat of Ross Fitzsimons in the Knots goal. Comfortable save, comfortable catch for him, and enables him to bowl it out and set Knots off on the attack. But yeah, it was just wide enough, wasn't it, for it not to be an obvious shooting opportunity. So the centre halves went forward just to give them that option of floating it to the back post, but they elected to go for goal, and like a lot of this game in that final third, not got the quality required. 42
minutes about to tick over here at the Shay. It's still goalless between Halifax and Knots. 1-0 to Huddersfield, 5 miles away from here against Forest, and 0-0 between Mansfield and Northampton in Graham Coughlin's first game in charge of the Stags. Thomas can't control the ball on the edge of the penalty area. Halifax clear it away, and Lacey will get to the ball before Mikulski can. Mikulski used to be at Forest Green and Southend, just the 1 goal from his 11 appearances so far this season. Now Shields still looks like he's got a bit of a limp to him, or he runs with a touch of discomfort after being tackled earlier on, but I think he's going to be okay. Mitchell rolls on the ball inside the centre circle. A couple of stoppages here is probably going to lead to 2 or 3 minutes of stoppage time, as Lacey directs his header out onto the left hand side, and McCrory will go all the way back towards Ross Fitzsimons. I always like it when I see a centre half pick out a player with a header. Now Rawlinson, and back to Fitzsimons once more. It's a familiar tale, this first half, Stal. At times it's been a very disjointed game to watch, and at others Knots have been in complete control of possession, and at some occasions it looks like they are vulnerable to a counter-attack as well. They've just lacked that final bit of X-factor in the final third.
Yeah, that's it. They've for an away team, they've sort of controlled the tempo of the game pretty well. They've had the bulk of possession and kept Halifax pretty much at arm's length. As you mentioned, it's just in that final third themselves, they just can't find the pass, the quality to unlock the Halifax door.
Here's Enzio, middle of the Halifax half, weaves away from a couple of players and gives it to Shields on the left wing. 1.5 minutes of the 45 remain, and somehow Shields, looking right along the line, is offside.
Oh, he'll regret that, Sean Shields. A minute or so before half-time, a winger stood on the touchline looking all along the back four, gets caught offside again, stops the attack in its tracks before it even gets going, and that will be fresh in the manager's mind as they get him for half-time. So he'll do well, Sean Shields, to go and hide himself away for a little minute or two when they get him for half-time.
2-0 to Southampton now at Villa Park. today. Long ball forward down the left-hand side here from Halifax. We'll find Williams on the left wing, turns away, gives it back to Duckworth, who takes a touch past Doyle and fires. Oh, and it's taken a deflection on the way through, and Halifax have the lead. Mikulski is claiming it. Duckworth will celebrate as well. It is the most fortuitous of breakthrough goals for Halifax, and Notts must be wondering what black cats they've run over on the way here. That is desperately unlucky, because the shot from Duckworth was tame. It had nothing on it. Ross Fitzsimons was about to throw his cap on it, and the deflection that took it away from him from Mikulski has given Halifax the lead with less than half a minute remaining at the end of this first half. Halifax 1, Notts 0.
Well, it's one of them goals that you thought in this sort of game it was going to be something like that was going to break the deadlock. We're talking about a lack of quality in the final third. Well, that is just pure out bad luck for Notts. It's a good break from Danny Williams down the inside left channel, good break from the middle of the park. He pulls the ball back to Mikulski, who does well on his right foot from 25-30 yards, pulls the trigger, doesn't get hold of it, cuts the top off the ball a little bit. It's all along ground. I think it's Sean Shields possibly who it comes off the leg. And as Ross Fitzsimons going away to his right-hand side to get the initial shot, the deflection takes it back the other side and into the unguarded goal. And Halifax look like they're going to go in at half-time, 1 goal to the good.
Notts back in possession though, and I must admit I didn't see how long was added on at the end of the first half. But we are into stoppage time now, because the goal came pretty much, well, with the celebrations, dead on 45 minutes. So not overly sure how long has been added on at the end of this first half, but Nick Richardson away to my left from the football club says it's been 2 minutes, so that is good to know. We have played about 1 minute and 10 seconds of that so far, so not long until Neil Ardley can continue his rant, which he's currently having to his coaching staff on the bench, to his players in the dressing room. And those are the dangers, as who can dominate a half of football and yet never really look like taking the lead. Wes Thomas with the best opportunity to do so from a Michael Doyle cross, and then you get stung the opposite direction. Absolutely,
it's a body blow, but I tell you what, I've played in many a team and under many a manager who will go back to Sean Shields and say, hey, if you hadn't been offside, they wouldn't be down the other end of the pitch and they wouldn't get that bit of luck. So, you know, small margins in football. It's bad luck, obviously, but you can do so much to help your cause, to help yourself, to help your team. There's just too many little mistakes, individual player mistakes. You know, it's not a tactical thing or anything like that. It's just an individual mistake, individual lack of quality or lack of a good decision making, lack of awareness, and it can affect the team. And small margins decide football matches.
The referee has a quick glance at his wristwatch, and 2 minutes are up, so we are pretty much done here at the end of the first half. Notts trailing by 1-0. Some of the coaching staff's already making their way down the tunnel, but McCrory's going to take a touch and try to get past Hansen, but good defended from the fullback, stays in front, clears it away, and the half-time whistle goes. And we are underway with Halifax in all blue, Notts in all green with the yellow trim, and Kyle Wootton charging down and trying to get on the front foot as soon as possible, but it's with Show Silver on the far touchline, who's forced out of bounds, and that'll be Notts throw-in. So the Magpies go with the same 11 that started the game. Ross Fitzsimons in goal, Rich Brindley at right back, left back it's Damien McCrory, the middle of defence Alex Lacey and Connell Rawlinson, in the midfield from right to left it's Baldwin, Rose, Doyle and Shields, and up top Thomas and Wootton, as Thomas is caught offside, as again he was looking down the line.
Well, no, believe it or not, I think the linesman was flagged for the ball being out to play there, because yeah, Matty Brown was shouting at the linesman, and eventually 2 passes later he's given Halifax a throw-in.
Yeah, it's certainly a throw-in that he has given. Now it's caught everybody a little bit off guard there. Thomas thought he would call for off as well, but throwing to Halifax it will be, level with the halfway line. Neil Ardley stands on the edge of his technical area, very small technical areas here on the edge of the pitch, as Show Silver wins a header over Mitch Rose and goes down wanting a free kick. So did the Halifax supporters, and they probably had a fair shout for it. headed clear now by Brindley to Staunton, and despite the fact that we're a minute and a half into this second half, and you'd think it'd be Notts who'd be on the front foot and desperate to try and get themselves back on level terms, as Halifax are on the front foot in the early stages of this second half, as Michael Doyle gives away a cheap free kick midway through their own half.
Yeah, that's it. It always makes me laugh. Football fans cheering that. We're right in the heart of rugby league country here. There's a little nudge in the back like that's got the locals up in arms.
Free kick it'll be. And Duckworth, the man who took the shot that deflected off of Mikulski and went into the back of the net towards the end of that first half, in the final minute of the 45, will take it. So cross towards the edge of the penalty area, up towards the big and burly Matt Brown. Not sure that's probably what he's got on his Tinder bio, if he's on Tinder. It's a dating app style, and it'll be a free kick for Notts.
Yeah, I don't know about that, mate. I don't think you
Me
should
neither.
either.
Me
Exactly,
neither.
yeah.
Anyway, 2 minutes into the second half.
Again, not the brightest start to the second half, of that to be mentioned. Yes, exactly. But,
No,
yeah, Notts going to be looking for something, a bit of inspiration, but certainly a bit better quality in the final third in this second half. That was what was lacking. Other than that, you know, they were comfortable. You know, they moved the ball all right in the first half, created good spaces, good opportunities out wide, chances for good delivery, just didn't get that final ball, that delivery. Now that'll be the point, I'm sure, that Neil Ardley's emphasising at half-time, that they've not got to go away from the way they're playing, because it's worked them into good areas. What they have got to improve on is that final ball into the box, and also maybe, like I say, releasing an extra body to go into the box and create problems.
Well, Halifax are looking for their first win here at the Shay since the 21st of September in the league. That is, they won here last week against Wrexham by 4-0. Both sides made changes. Halifax made 5, but a 4-0 win nonetheless. Meanwhile, Notts are going to play Dagenham and Redbridge in the third round of the competition. Third round? Second round of that competition. I'm jumping ahead of myself. We're one step closer to Wembley for a moment then. That one against Dagenham and Redbridge in early mid-January. No replay for that though. Excuse me, there is a replay for that though. We had no replay in the last round. The teams get to decide. I'll get my words out in a moment. Free kick by the by, taken by Notts into the penalty area, half-headed away, falls to Wootton, shot, goal! It beats the goalkeeper. It's dragged along from the penalty spot into the back of the net. Keeper was unsighted, never really caught a grip of it. It might have caught a deflection on the way through, and Notts are level just 4 minutes into this second half. Halifax 1, Notts 1. Kyle Wootton moves into double figures for the season.
Yeah, absolutely a perfect start for Notts at the beginning of this second half. It was a dangerous ball in, good whip ball in with his right foot into the penalty area. I think Halifax Town defender got ahead to it, but it only looped about to the penalty spot, and as it dropped, Carl Wootton hit it hard. It was almost straight at Sam Johnson, but it was through bodies. He got a good bit of a hand, a bit of leg to it, but couldn't stop it from going into the net. And hopefully that's given Notts the lead. It certainly got them Notts fans singing away to our right, and hopefully that can give the players a bit of belief, a bit of confidence to go on from here. But they're back on level terms thanks to Kyle Wootton.
Yeah, and those Notts players as well, they were giving it large in front of the Notts fans. Sean Shields waving his arms around as if to say he wants more from those supporters. Well, here goes Enzio down the right wing towards the byline, tries to pick out his man, misses everybody. The ball was to Wes Thomas at the front post, and he tried to find Sean Shields at the back post, and I might be being a little bit kind there. Kyle Wootton back onto it again, into the penalty area he goes, down the left-hand side to Thomas, puts it just wide. Well played, Notts.
Well, that's it. They've been more dangerous in the first 5 minutes of this second half than they showed all throughout the 45 of the first. They've got the equaliser through Kyle Wootton, and there he very nearly became the provider for his strike partner, Wes Thomas. A little bit of sloppy play from Halifax under good pressure in their own half, give the ball away. Eventually Carl Wootton just down the left-hand edge of the penalty area, drills the ball in, fires it across the box, and Wes Thomas just gets in front of his defender, 6 yards out. His left-footed finish just a yard or so wide of that near post, but good intent from Notts.
Well, we're 5 minutes into this second half. It's 1-1 between Halifax and Notts, both teams who have struggled for form so desperately in the National League of late. Now you see Neil Ardley stood on the end of his very short technical area, telling his players to get forward and try to pin Halifax back in their own half as they try to clear away down the right-hand side. It's now with Shields, takes the touch out of his feet and then plays it in field, but it's easily cut out by Mayer. who goes all the way back to the goalkeeper, and now it's time for Halifax to try and regather themselves. But Kyle Wootton noticeably working so hard off the ball, chasing down every single ball today, whether it be a lost cause or not, and on that occasion chasing the goalkeeper down to mean that he didn't have too much time to get his clearance away, and that led to Notts being back in possession once more. Ball down the right hand side, Duckworth wins the header, Staunton volleys it up over the top, but Notts have pinned Halifax so far back that there is no blue shirt anywhere near, in fact not even inside the Notts half at that point when the ball was blasted forward, and so Notts are able to build from the back. A word on Kyle Wootton, brought to the football club for his physical presence as a target man, and I don't think really as the primary goal scorer, but he's the top scorer and the first man into double figures so far this season. Yeah,
that's it. He's done fantastically well. He's gone through a bit of a quieter period in terms of performance, but he's a physical presence, and we said right at the start of the season that's exactly what we will need in this division. You need to be able to compete in both ends, both penalty areas. You know, he comes back, does a job defensively, but just retaining the ball and not allowing defenders to win easy headers, and then 10 goals as well. Obviously a fantastic return so far.
Rawlinson with his head freshly bandaged, it's got bits of plaster around it now as well, wins a header there, and now a long ball goes up over the top from that header that sends Rawlinson trotting back to his own penalty area. Ross Fitzsimons is taking a chance or two as he fakes to clear the ball forward and eventually shepherds it out for a goal kick, with Mikulski, who's claimed that goal in the first half, lurking nearby. Ross Fitzsimons possibly carrying a little bit more festive weight at this time of year than what he did the last time I saw him in a Notts shirt, so there was no question as to whether or not he was going to be able to nudge the svelte striker out of it on that occasion.
He's not the only one carrying a little bit of extra Christmas weight, nothing wrong with that.
Mate, I told you in the car that I didn't want that, never mind. Clearance away from Lacey, up in the general direction of Thomas. Wootton's there, and it was a bit of a case of after you Maud, after you Claude, as Notts allow the ball to bounce in the direction of a blue shirt, and they then win a throw-in to Huddersfield. Perfect start to Notts in his second half, albeit prior to that goal Halifax had come out on the front foot. Yeah, it has. It's been a great start, exactly what you wanted after the body blow of that deflected goal at the end of the first half. They didn't really deserve to concede at all. They say if ever a half of football had 0-0 written all over it, was arguably that one in the first half, but that changed all that. So to come out immediately and get back on level terms, you know, doesn't allow the rot to set in, the worry, the nerves, and you know, hopefully they can continue, you know, in the same vein, continue on the forward foot, because you say Wes Thomas has had a reasonable chance after that almost immediately, and it just goes to show if they can just increase the intensity in that final third, that there will be chances there. We've played 54 minutes here now at the Shay this afternoon. It's 1-1 in the Premier League. Goalless between Everton and Arsenal at lunchtime. It's 0-0 between Bournemouth and Burnley as Notts have to defend again, and Rawlinson wins another header. 3-0 to Southampton at Aston Villa this afternoon. Danny Ings having a good afternoon. Here comes Duckworth running down the left hand side, approaching the Notts penalty area. He's forced back by Baldwin, who's having a tug on the left arm of Duckworth as well. Back to Staunton, closed down in turn by Doyle, still with him. Wootton back there as well, offering a presence. 1-0 to Sheffield United, still at Brighton. 0-0 between Newcastle and Crystal Palace, as Mikulski tries to win a header and Doyle then volleys clear up towards the halfway line. It's now 2-0 to Huddersfield, 5 mile away from here, against Nottingham Forest. Munier, who's got the goal there for the Tykes. 1-0 to Norwich as well in the Premier League, rounding out those scores. The 5:30 kickoff still to come down the M62 from here is Man City against Leicester City. So 2-0 to Huddersfield against Forest. It was goalless last time we checked in with Jake, and Graham Coughlin's first game in charge of Mansfield. They've got Northampton against a former Mansfield manager, former Notts manager as well, albeit that's a common occurrence, in Keith Curl, who's at Northampton nowadays, and Jake can tell us how the Stags are getting on in the early stages of this second half. Jake. Who crossed the ball for Wootton?
Don't know, right footer.
Thank you very much, Jake. Meanwhile, Halifax in possession here with Staunton, who plays it out onto the left-hand side. Williams is going to cross the ball into the area, through the legs of a bunch of players, and back out towards Jamie Allen, who has given Halifax the lead. Notts only level for around 7 minutes. Halifax back in front here at the Shay. Well worked from right to left, and then a really decent ball from Williams that somehow managed to evade 3 or 4 players in the centre of the area, but at the back stick was Jamie Allen, who finished with a plumb into the far corner. 57 minutes on the clock. Halifax 2, Notts 1.
Yeah, Halifax get their noses back in front. Well, they started this second half. Where was this all through the first half? It's been end-to-end, it's been dangerous, it's been good attacking play, and this time Halifax take the lead 2-1. Jamie Allen, really good finish, as you say, a low ball in from the left-hand side after good work from Staunton in the middle of the park, keeping it alive, recycling it out to the left, and a drilled ball across. No Notts player could get any positive contact on it, and it went beyond everybody to the back post. Jamie Allen, no thought of taking a touch, opened his body up with the instep of his right boot and found that far corner across Ross Fitzsimon's goal, nestling into the corner. Really good finish from Halifax, and Notts have got it all to do again.
And Cameron King is being ready to come on for Halifax, a man who's got 6 goals for them so far this season, and somebody you liked from Meadow Lane earlier on in the campaign. So what does that do to the psyche from a Notts perspective for those players out there? It's one thing to be 1-0 down, to get yourself back to, you know, sort of level terms at 1-1. It fills you with such confidence. To then go 2-1 down so quickly again, what sort of knock can that have?
Oh yeah, because you've got to take in your stride though. You've got to realise that they've scored 1 already in this second half. They've created another chance. Got to get on the front foot. You've got to realise this game is opening up, certainly, since the first half.
Mitch Rose pushed in the back by Shay Silver, should have gone down. Would have been a good shooting opportunity, but Notts keep hold of it with Enzio on the right wing. Now back to Brindley. He's going to cross the ball. It's poor and cleared away on the edge of that 18-yard box by Staunton, who then hammers it clear up towards Lacey and Rawlinson and no blue shirts, and it goes all the way back towards Ross Fitzsimons. 58 minutes on the clock here. 2-1 to Halifax. And what you sense, a big afternoon for whatever side can win this game. I mean, yeah, obviously it can end in a draw, but if one side can win this, it'd be a big boost going into the Christmas period. Here goes the Dutchman again for Notts, down the right wing. Baldwin approaching the edge of the penalty area, near the byline, cross into the area, headed away. That was better from Enzio, and you just wish that you saw more of it.
Well, that's it, exactly. That's exactly what you want from your wide players. Getting to the byline, putting a good ball up, standing it up into a dangerous area. 2 or 3 Notts players in there, unable to get on the end of it, but it's in a good area. But you've got to do that 10 times a half. You know, you've got to be doing that. We didn't see much of that, if any, in the first half at all. But it just goes to show the intensity of this game has increased 100%, certainly since the first half.
Well, Notts have got a free kick, meanwhile. About 10 to 15 yards away from the angle on the edge of the Halifax penalty area, so it's out to this right wing, perfect for a right footer to cross the ball into the area. Shields is the man with that right foot, sticks his left arm in the air, aims for the back post, headed back across goal, headed away by Staunton, falls to Rose, who thunders his volley into the back of the net, and they're level once more. This back and forth game in the second half that keeps on giving, and Rose celebrates in front of the hundreds of Notts supporters who are feeling much more cheery now than what they were in that first half. And for the last couple of minutes, Halifax were back in front for only 3 minutes, and hours being played. Halifax 2, Notts 2. Yeah. Mitch Rose the scorer.
Chalk another goal in the goal of the season contest as well. What a strike on the volley, full on the volley from the edge of the box as it dropped. Dangerous ball in again from the free kick. Sean Shields into a good area. Notts win the first header. It gets cleared to the edge of the box, and before it touches the ground, Mitch Rose sizes it up, strikes it wonderfully on his right foot, keeps it down, hits the target. It's in the back of the net before Sam Johnson can move. 2-2 game on. The first half looked like it had 0-0 written all over. The second half could end up 6-6.
He caught that absolutely perfectly, did Mitch Rose, back in Yorkshire where he's from. Family's here today, and he smacked that volley into the back of the net with venom. 1 hour played, 2-2. Long ball up over the top from Halifax, who on countless occasions today I've nearly called Huddersfield. It's now with Wootton out towards Brindley. on the halfway line. The Notts fans away to our right-hand side. In the end, where Notts are attacking in this second half, are roaring them on. It's with Enzio, step over, down the right-hand side, clips it up towards the back post. Wootton nearly there to Rose. He's hit the crossbar. Goodness me, this game.
Well, there you go. Mitch Rose better with his right foot than his left. That's probably an easier chance than the goal he's just scored a couple of minutes ago. Again, superb play from Enzio Baldwin on this right-hand side. Gets to the byline again, stands up a lovely ball. 2 or 3 players competing for it. It gets a soft little header down to about the penalty spot. Mitch Rose has time this time to let it bounce. It's on his left foot, and instead of making sure he gets over it, he leans back slightly and it grazes the crossbar as it goes over. That's a better chance for Mitch Rose. Should be putting that one away. Will he come to rue that later in the game? It stays 2-2, but it just goes to show, doesn't it, the intensity that's increased in the second half. We're getting chances both ends, goals both ends. Where was this in the first half?
It's entertaining. It is end to end. Connell Rawlinson wins ahead. Meanwhile, we've seen a change from Halifax as Staunton comes in, and then Enzio returns the favour, and the two of them hit the deck on the halfway line, and it'll be a Halifax free kick. The change saw Cameron King come on and Sean Mikulski make way. King, who was part of the Norwich youth setup, has, as I say, got 6 goals to his name so far this season. He's only 24 years old, and he comes on up front as the ball is going to break in his direction, but header rather strong at that from Danny Williams as he tried to thread it through towards Show Silva, and it's gone out for a goal kick. In a moment to take stock and a moment to breathe, Mark Stallone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we didn't see this coming at half-time at all, but it's, let's be honest, it's a start that Notts needed. They need the game to be open. They needed to come out and you know, make a statement. They certainly did that. Then a little bit of a kick in the teeth by conceding again, going behind, but again showing resilience coming forward. And it shows that they've got that quality and that intent. They've just got to produce it on more frequent occasions.
Here's Shields on the left wing for Notts. Back to McCrory, cross into the area, headed clear by Brown back there. Falls towards Brindley, who's midway through the Halifax half, and on the right wing now to Enzio Baldwin. Going to have another run at the blue-shirted defenders. Back to Brindley. Edge of the penalty area on the right-hand side. Tried to force a cross into the penalty area that he needn't have done. And Halifax are now on the counter-attack. Although, with a poor ball like that from Duckworth, they won't get too far. And Ross Fitzsimons is back in possession inside of his penalty area. And back out onto the left, he goes to Lacey and to Damien McCrory. Carries himself with an air of confidence, Alex Lacey, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's looked fairly assured at the back today. Everything he's done again looks comfortable in possession of the ball. He threaded a good ball 5 minutes or so before half-time down this left-hand side. It seems strange talking about the defenders again. They've conceded 2 goals, but obviously what one before half-time was a deflection. Nothing anybody could really do about that. But it looks like he could be a good addition.
Poor ball from Wootton in behind Brindley, who couldn't keep it in, and throw-in's been taken. Williams tries to get the other side of the Notts right back, but he doesn't, and Brindley manages to squeeze it along the touchline. That'll be a Notts throw-in. Wants to take quickly, I didn't. Instead, we're going to have a substitution. Second change of the game on the way for Halifax, and it's Liam McAlinden who will come on. He's their top scorer so far this season, and Williams comes off as I hear someone behind me go, it's about time. So McAlinden on with 9 goals to his name. He was that starlet that came through at Wolves, and everybody had such high hopes for him. Since then, he's kind of slipped down the leagues, but certainly a good player at this level. Yeah,
he is, and like I say, Cameron King impressed me in the first half at Meadow Lane. So certainly going for a little bit of attacking intent, Pete Wild. Obviously they're the home team. Halifax searching for that win just like Notts are, but the second half is really wide open, isn't it? The game's far more stretched, a far quicker tempo about the game, the passing's quicker, and it just seems like the attacking players have got the bit between the teeth. They feel like they've got the beating of the defenders, which was a complete role reversal from what we saw in the first 45.
Ball from Lacey. Tried to find the feet of Wes Thomas, but cut out before it could reach him. 65 minutes on the clock, 2-2 here. Halifax have led twice, Notts have pegged them back twice. And it's with McCrory to Doyle on the left wing. Now to Thomas, who's picking up space, dropping off of his man. He's now closed down, but shifts it to Baldwin, right side of the area. Will shoot and blaze it over the top of the crossbar. That has gone to about row P, I'm guessing.
Oh, I tell you what, he's been much better at the start of this second half, Enzio. He looked really dangerous, and he might well be the man he feels like, well, he certainly looks like he's got the beating of the left back Duckworth at the start of this second half, but that is a really good opportunity where he just needs to take another half a second there. He gets the ball on the inside right channel. It's a little bit ahead of him. He has to stretch to get it under his control, but as he's in the penalty area from that angle, you feel like just get your toe, point your toe down, get your head over it, keep it low across the goal. You might find the far corner, you might find somebody else putting it in there for you. Instead he leans back and blazes it over the goal and doesn't let the goalkeeper work. But again, another good bit of play from Notts, opening up Halifax and creating a good chance.
Throwing on the far side for the home side. Checking with Jake again in a moment to see how the Stags are getting on at home against Northampton. Throw-in taken, Staunton turns it forward. It's turned back in the opposite direction by Michael Doyle. Brown wins a header on the halfway line, and the Shay men are back in possession inside the Notts half on the left wing with Duckworth, held up by Mitch Rose, who's got one, probably should have had two, has two so far as a Notts player this season. So with McAlinden down the left hand side, his cross is tame and easily cut out by Connell Rawlinson. Now to Cameron King, the other substitute who's just come on. McAlinden, the other, weaves away from a player or two and then plays the ball across the midfield. And now it is with Allen, who scored the second Halifax goal. Weaves towards the edge of the area, lays it back. Block made by Mitch Rose from the shot of Niall Mayer. And Mayer seems to think that struck the arm or hand of Mitchell Rose. In the end, it's gone out for a corner from a cross that was nodded behind by Rich Brindley. This game really seems obvious to say, but it's breathless and it could go either way. Yeah, you feel there's more goals in this game yet, don't you? That time, Halifax appealing for a penalty, and we see the VAR signals from the fans in front of us. Yeah, it's one of them you worry about these days. Mitch Rose coming out to the edge of the box, throwing himself out to block the shot. It was a strong shot, looked goal bound, and which part of Mitch Rose's body it hit, we don't know, but without that VAR at this level, the referee decided no penalty. As it is, it'll be a Halifax corner. It is, perhaps fortunately for Notts, no VAR, a long way away from VAR at this level. Cam King has a shot, but it's blocked from the resulting corner, and Notts are now trying to lead the line and get out as Halifax briefly go back towards the halfway line, and then Duckworth buys himself a free kick midway through the Notts half at the expense of Wes Thomas. 68 minutes on the clock. We will cross to Jake, but not just quite yet, as Duckworth stands over the free kick, and the vast majority of the big men for Halifax are still forward. They'll look to knock this one up towards the edge of the Notts penalty area, where there's a high line from those Magpies defenders. It's flicked away and flicked on by a blue shirt and behind for a goal kick. We'll take stock. It has been breathless. It is on BBC Radio Nottingham, where you can also find reports on the Stags, like this one from Jake Garner. .70 minutes about to tick over here as well at the Shay. It's with Wootton on the left-hand side, just inside the Halifax half, and it's pushed out for a Notts throw that McCrory will take. Goes back to Rose, just inside the Halifax half. Got plenty of space, now being closed down as he edges ever deeper into it. Out towards Enzio on the right wing, closed down immediately, but he'll step past him and fire a really good ball in, and Wes Thomas again has to do better from the edge of the 6-yard box. Oh, Matty Brown's just tried to head it. The Halifax defender's just gone in front of him and maybe just took his eye off the ball for a split second. Again, good play from Enzio Baldwin. Good ball from Mitch Rose out to Enzio. Good delivery with his right foot in the second half. What we've seen, 5 good crosses into good areas already in this second half. And Wes Thomas trying to direct his header goalwards, just gets underneath it. I think the defender did enough to take his eye off the ball, but
think Wes Thomas will be critical of himself. There's a couple of headers today that he should have at least hit the target with.
Well, this has meanwhile been absolutely everything that you want to see from Enzio Baldwin in the last 25 minutes or so. He's direct, he's quick, he's running at defenders, pushing them back, they're backing off of him, and his distribution has largely been quite good in this second half as well. This is the Dutchman that everybody expects. We only ever see it in fleeting glimpses, but so far in this second half at least, those glimpses have been a little bit more extended than what perhaps they usually are.
Yeah, he's been excellent second half, absolutely excellent. That's all you ask. You want him to be positive when he gets the ball, and it's down to not to get the ball to him in early enough so he can get his head up and get running at a defender. But as the game's opened up, he's certainly used that and exploited it, and put 4 or 5 dangerous balls into the Halifax penalty area, and that's what you expect of your wide men.
Throwing from Halifax into the Notts penalty area is cleared away. Comes to Wootton, now to Enzio. Probably not the place to try and run it out. He's turning and twisting, and he eventually gets away and plays a ball forward, which probably more by luck than judgment finds Thomas, who's dragged to the ground, but he goes out to Wootton, who slides the ball through to Shields. The referee's playing an advantage, and Shields is heading towards the corner flag as we speak. He's almost inside the little triangle of the corner flag. He turns and gets his cross, blocked by a defender and behind for a corner.
Yeah.
Only a second of the game for Notts.
Really good play from Notts there. They were tight in their own defensive right back spot. Enzio clearing the ball, held up from Wes Thomas. A couple of passes later, Sean Shields is making that third man run beyond the Halifax defence, taking them back, taking the ball into the corner and winning a corner for Notts from Notts attacking right. Like I said, this is chalk and cheese first half to second, isn't it? Every time a team goes forward and attacks, it looks dangerous, whereas in the first half both teams looking largely impotent.
I wonder if, with the good wing play that we're seeing of late from your likes of Shields and Enzio, whether or not, as I look down to my left-hand side and see Christian Dennis warming up, he's the most natural finisher at the football club, whether or not Neil Ardley is thinking of throwing him into the game for the last 15 minutes or so. We've played 73 minutes. The game finally poised. Halifax 2, Notts 2. It's match day on BBC Radio Nottingham. Here comes a corner, dragged in, shot goalwards from Wootton, but it was blocked. It had to be blocked. If it wasn't blocked, that was going to nestle in the bottom corner. But here come Halifax on the counter. They got 3 men on the counter. Down the left-hand side, it's with Allen, who's being watched closely by Lacey, who's quick enough to get back in front of him, put the brakes on, wait for the contact and go down. And that's something you wouldn't get from, say, a Ben Turner.
There's no way Ben Turner would have won that foot race, all the attributes that Ben Turner's got, but Alex Lacey's showing he's got a good turn of speed as well, getting back. Jamie Allen did brilliantly, held off 2 Notts players from the counter-attack, made 60-70 yards down the left-hand side and was looking like he might be putting a dangerous ball across. Alex Lacey doing really well, getting back, getting goal side and went drawing the foul. But yeah, it was a little training ground routine on it from the Notts corner, a low one to the edge of the box. Kyle Wootton coming onto it, side foot strike first time, right footed, with directly behind it. It was going goalwards, a lot of bodies in the way. It would have done well to get through them, but as you say, it was blocked out and Halifax counter attack. This game, you just feel there's another goal at least in it.
Now, Halifax are about to make their third and final change. All eyes on the Notts bench as well, as Crawford is being sent to warm up and Dennis is heading down the tunnel. Neil Ardley looks frustrated.
I hope that's not a substitute who's not got his shirt or his pads, or something.
It looked like that sort of reaction, didn't it, from a manager? He's not best pleased, and there is a stoppage in play here as a Halifax player is down, and Dennis retreats, as I say, to the changing rooms to potentially get his shirt, potentially get it. Did you ever do that? Did you ever forget yours?
No. Not because I was always in the starting 11, I hasten to add, but
I wasn't going to suggest that.
Managers I played under, you wouldn't dare. You would do that once and you would not be on the bench next game. I mean, that, hey, modern life, but that is a frustration. Look, he might have just wanted a comfort break, shall we say.
Maybe.
But if it is equipment, there's no excuse now for subs. You've got all that time to get ready. If you haven't got your equipment on the bench when the manager might call you at any second, it really is sloppy. There's a big break in play, so it's not really affected anything.
No.
But it's the sort of thing that annoys a manager and annoys coaching staff, and it will go as a little black mark against you.
Yes. Meanwhile, change about to be made. Jacob Hansen is coming off, and this is a surname that is familiar to Notts. Cooper, Charlie Cooper, comes on, and that is the third and final change of the afternoon for Pete Wild and his team. Just having a quick look at the Notts dugout. They're waving somebody back in. Dion Kelly-Evans is the man who's coming back, which wasn't the person I thought was about to come on, must admit. Meanwhile, Enzio climbing on one of the Halifax players here as they try to get towards the Notts penalty area. That will be a free kick. No, it's not. Referee said play on once again with Cameron Carr. Now to Allen, who's lost the ball under his feet. On the left wing he is, with Duckworth now, who switches the play from left to right. Bit of a Hollywood pass. That'll always get a round of applause. And a poor bit of touch from Mayer on that far touch line, which will see the ball go out for a Notts throw. Meanwhile, goal at Field Mill. Jake. Oosh. Very good, thank you very much, Jake. So the Stags are winning, Forest are losing. Meanwhile, here at the Shay, Notts drawing 2-2 at Halifax. We're about to see a change as Dion Kelly-Evans comes on in place of Richard Brindley. Not seen Brindley carrying anything that looks like a knock or an injury, and he didn't come off looking that way either. So I wonder if this is an injection of energy and perhaps pace down that right-hand side, where maybe Neil Ardley and his coaching staff see Notts getting some joy with Enzio there as well. Yeah, possibly. I just wonder whether it's, a right back for a right back, you would imagine at this stage, with the way the game's gone, it's possibly for a knock, and Richard Brindley disappearing with one of the physios. Well, here comes Enzio into the area, shoots, deflects, up over the top, corner kick. I am loving this Enzio ball. This is exactly what you want. This is the blueprint for a wide player. This second half, if you see chalk and cheese, it's the first half to the second half, and like I said, that's not just down to Enzio, it's down to how the team play, it's how the game opens itself up a little bit. But it's exactly when he gets the ball, his first thought in this second half has been get at the fullback, and I say whatever Neil Ardley said to him at half time has certainly worked. Yes, that is Weetabix. It's a corner kick that Shields will not take just yet, because the referee has spotted some jostling with the goalkeeper. It's Wes Thomas that's in there next to big Sam Johnson, and he's a big lad. He's dwarfing Thomas, who now runs away from him. Here comes the outswinging corner. It's deep, far too deep, and beyond everybody. So Lacey will track that out onto the left wing, takes a touch, tries to take it past his man, but instead wins a throw-in, wasted opportunity. Yeah, it was poor delivery, wasn't it, going for the back post corner and beyond everybody from Sean Shields, but not to keep the ball. They've got to throw in. Here comes Enzio again. He switched out to the left-hand side, now plays it into the feet of Thomas, who turns, gets past his man to the byline, tries to cut it back. Who's it going to fall to? Mitch Rose is in there. Penalty! I thought so. It was a rascal of a challenge from Josh Staunton, who flew in at Mitch Rose, who's still down. I think he might have took a stud to the shin pad, maybe, but Notts have got a penalty, and by the time all of this is dealt with and the penalty is taken, we'll be inside the 80th minute. Well, it's fantastic play again by Notts. Say the corner was a poor delivery, but they kept it alive, won a throw-in, and from that they just worked the ball around the edge of the box, looked for that forward pass into the area. It was Wes Thomas who managed to turn his man down. Excuse me. Get to the byline, yeah. And as he pulled it back, just a little ricochet off a defender. Nobody really claimed it. And we say it was either Mitch Rose, it looked like it might well have been Enzio, you say, getting on the end of it. It's a yellow card for Staunton. It's definitely Enzio who's down. Mitch Rose has gone and grabbed the ball away to our right-hand side. And all the Notts fans away to our right, some of them wearing Santa Claus hats, have come to gather right at the front where the advertising hoardings are. There is one steward in an orange vest who is trying to hold back maybe 30 or 40 of them. And Enzio is still down. He's about to be helped up by the physio. Meanwhile, Forest have got a goal back at Huddersfield. Joe Worrell has got the goal there, so it's 2-1 to Huddersfield, and a lifeline for Nottingham Forest late on. We are now inside the edgy 80s, very edgy at this point, and Mitch Rose, your battling defensive midfielder, I can tell by the tone of your voice there, you're surprised at that, but Mitch Rose is the man who's going to take it. He is. I wondered why he went and grabbed the ball. He's marked out his run-up. The goalkeeper is pushing the crossbar to try and distract him. But Mitchell Rose steps forward and scores, buries the ball in the bottom corner, and for the first time in this game, Notts County are in front. Mitch Rose runs to celebrate in front of those Magpies supporters. Some of them have come up over the top of the advertising hoardings and through onto the edge of the pitch. Real jubilant celebrations away to our right-hand side. 81 minutes gone. Mitch Rose with a brace here this afternoon. Halifax 2, Notts 3.
Well, it might have been a questioning tone, but he's dispatched it with no mess whatsoever. Right-footed, short little run-up, but powerfully dispatched to the right of Sam Johnson. No chance the keeper went the right way, but it was in the back of the net before he had a chance to get anywhere near it. And Mitch Rose gets his second of the day. He could have had a hat-trick. He's hit the bar with arguably his best chance of the game, but Notts for the first time get their nose in front of this. Still a way of this game to go. We've got 8.5 minutes of normal time plus whatever stoppage time is going to be added on, and the way this second half has gone already, you wouldn't say that that's going to be the end of the scoring.
No, this game has seesawed back and forth so often this afternoon, and what has been such an entertaining and enthralling second half here at the Shay. At half-time, it was 1-0, and in fairness, it was a half that had 0-0 written all over it. It took a big deflection to give Halifax the lead in that first half. Meanwhile, who's that on the far side who's gone down with tactical cramp?
Tactical cramp, yeah, that's a new term, but yeah, Sean Shields, I think it is, flat on his back.
Meanwhile, Notts are now about to make a change. Christian Dennis is the man who's going to come on. Rich Brindley has gone back down the touchline. He's got a lot of strapping and ice around his left thigh, so your theory proved correct, Mark Stallard. And the change is on the way, so Dennis comes on, and Sean Shields, with his tactical cramp, will go off on the far side.
Cramp up, having to walk all the way round, or at least halfway round this pitch now, having to go off at the nearest point. Is right on the far side.
That's not going to be well received by the Halifax supporters as he walks past them, I'm sure. So inside the last 10 minutes of this game, we are. The game, as I say, seesawing back and forth in this second half. Enzio Baldwin, meanwhile, still running with a little bit of a limp himself, but he must be okay, because otherwise surely he'd have been the man to come off there. No point risking him, given how valuable he's been in this second half. Yeah, and I'm going back to that penalty incident. I'm not quite sure what the actual penalty infringement was, because it looked like he was being held from the player aside, but then Staunton coming in, whether the refs deemed that late. But he booked Staunton.
Well, he did, yeah, but whether that was for a remonstration afterwards, I don't know. But if it was that tackle, it's
rascal.
Like I say, it's one of them where away from home sometimes at 2-2 you don't always get them.
No, indeed, but it looked a rascal of a challenge, and I mean, we're a long way away from it. I get the feeling the closer up you are to that one, probably the more rascal, the more dangerous it might have looked. Wes Thomas with a cross, deflects towards Kelly Evans. His first time cross thunders off of the thigh of Staunton, goes up over the top, and possibly will run out on the far side for a throw. No, it won't, it's kept in. Michael Doyle briefly lost it in a floodlight, that's the ball, that is, and Halifax clear up to the halfway line, where it falls to Mitchell Rose, who's on a hat-trick this afternoon. Yes, you heard that right. Mitch Rose on a hat-trick, back in his homeland of Yorkshire. Dion Kelly Evans tries to cross the ball into the area once more as the Notts supporters away to our right singing Jingle Bells. Oh, what fun it is to see Notts win away.
Absolutely. Let's hope they're just not singing that prematurely. But this is, if it stays like this, exactly the result that Notts needed. But so you just feel there's maybe another twist or turn in this game yet.
Speaking of twists and turn, Enzio Baldwin is on the ball. He's tippy-tappying on the ball away to our right-hand side and bringing out the party tricks. Might be again touch premature, but he has one of throwing.
Yeah, doing drag backs right foot to left foot in the corner. It's one of them where in years gone by I just can picture full-backs and centre-halves coming through and dispatching him somewhere into the stand here. But you know, fair play to him. He's played excellently well in this second half, Enzio, and have been a major catalyst as to the reason why Notts are 3-2 up at the moment.
Throwing for Halifax away to our right hand side. Still 2-1 to Huddersfield against Nottingham Forest, and in League Two still 1-0 to Mansfield Town, although hearing that there may well have been an equaliser in the last few moments for Northampton. We shall check in with Jake as soon as we can to find out exactly that. Meanwhile, in the Premier League, Wolves are winning 2-1 now at Norwich, having come from behind. 1-0 to Newcastle against Crystal Palace. 1-0 still to Sheffield United at Brighton. Southampton are winning 3-1 at Aston Villa. Ball up towards Wes Thomas inside the Halifax penalty area. He turns, got space, ball into the area. It was so close to being an own goal, that one. It'll be a corner kick instead. Confirmation of that goal, Jake. Don't tell me that. Tell me about the goal, mate. Dennis. Oh! Thank God. Thank you very much, Jake. Meanwhile, from the resulting corner here, Enzio played it short. Again, something off of the training ground. Found a completely unmarked Christian Dennis on the edge of the penalty area, and he looked to bend one into the far top corner. And I tell you what, Mark Stallard, it was not that far away. No,
just about a yard beyond that far post. It always had the shape, but it was always started too wide as well. Never going to come back from there. But again, another good effort. And prior to that, to win the corner, Wes Thomas doing really well, getting to the byline and firing the ball across. And Nathan Clark, really good defending in the end, but it could have gone anywhere off his foot. Eventually, it was about a foot wide of that near post.
87 minutes on the clock here. Notts leading at Halifax by 3-2. The Shay men on the counter-attack there. Oh, and that's a bad tackle between two players, both Kyle Wootton and the Halifax man. Both of them catch the other player, both of them roll away, and both of them lie forlorn on the pitch. There's now a bit of pushing and shoving going on the pitch as well. The referee is going to have to get a grip of this here. It looked potentially nasty for both players.
Yeah, I was going to say, both players down, injured. I'm not sure if
I think Wootton probably caught
Wooten's all right.
Swanson.
I was going to say, I don't think it was particularly malicious. I think it was one of them, it's a 50-50 full-blooded tackle. And both players are down. The Notts players saying Wootton doesn't need any treatment, but he's going to get it whether he likes it or not.
You've got to play the whole
the Halifax
out.
players down as well. I think the referee do well just to take a breath here. And I didn't see either player particularly late, to be honest. I thought the ball was there to be won. I think both players looked as if they went in to win the ball. Obviously, the reaction of players afterwards. Michael Doyle was in there, obviously, as you would expect, putting his point across. But I think it was that, the reaction of Michael Doyle, that created the other players to come in.
Yeah.
Carl Wootton's back up on his feet.
I've seen red cards dished out for these things.
Yeah, the Halifax player,
have.
Charlie Cooper, will be back up on his feet in a minute. The referee's going over to speak to both linesmen. It's just how they saw it. I mean, for me, that was pretty much a 50-50 ball. I didn't see one side more culpable than the other of going in late or high, but we only see it the once.
What I particularly like about this incident is that both linesmen were covering their mouths then whilst they were talking to the referee as if there were that many cameras here. Card is out, and I think that's a red card in the hand of the referee. No, it might be black. It might just be his book. It's yellow that has come for the Halifax man. I'm amazed that Kyle Wootton hasn't also been booked. Well, they both flew in full-blooded. They both caught the other man. I think Kyle Wootton might have got away with one there.
Well, like I say, I would go down the other route and say maybe Charlie Cooper could consider himself a little bit unlucky. I think it's one of them 6 and 2 threes. Both players are back up, and on Charlie Cooper's got to come off to the side because he's had treatment. Kyle Wootton hasn't had to go off, unbelievably, but fair enough. But yeah, the committee of three, the ref and the two linesmen, deemed that was a yellow card for Charlie Cooper. But either way, we're at full complement 11v11, which is how we want it. Let's just crack on.
It was a ferocious tackle.
It was full-blooded tackle, but you don't want to take that out of the game, do you?
Well,
you want to see that. You don't want players going over the top of the ball, like Michael Doyle did at home in the home fixture, where he won the ball and went over the top. You don't want to see that, but that was just a hard tackle. Ultimately, in a 50-50, somebody's going to get there marginally ahead of somebody else, but I don't think that was the tackle.
A bit of a sloppy attempt at a tackle from Jamie Allen, who gave Halifax their 2-1 lead in the 57th minute. So much seems to have happened since then. And now Notts have got a free kick on the far side. So Cooper booked, Staunton's been booked in this game as well. No Notts players in the book so far today. Meanwhile, just the 6 minutes, I love that as well. Shows the board, and that might have been audible on the microphones, a collective 6.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is panto season, isn't it? There was a gasp from the crowd. And yeah, 6 minutes. I'm not quite sure where 6 have come from, but it's entertaining and it's exciting, so why not?
And that's from the home supporters who are, wanting a goal back in this game from their team. There's another tackle as he flies in. Oh, Mitchell Rose has gone and grabbed him by the throat. That was a bad tackle on Rose, and now Rose is in there. He's pushing, he's shoving. Wes Thomas is trying to pull him back. He's going to need reinforcements, and now a couple of the big centre halves from Halifax are back in there as well. Rose is going to be booked at the very least for his reaction, but it's not a good tackle from the Halifax player.
That for me is a worse tackle than what Charlie Cooper's just been booked for in the middle of the park, because he's gone through everything. Yes, he's won the ball, not dissimilar to the Michael Doyle tackle at Meadow Lane that I was just speaking about, but that is nowadays deemed to be a dangerous tackle where he's gone off both his feet and gone through the player. We'll wait and see, but again, hopefully the ref taking his time. Yellow card for the Halifax defender. I can't see who it was who made the tackle, and
yeah, Duckworth been booked.
It's just what he's going to give Mitch Rose for his reaction.
I would imagine it's a yellow as well.
I mean, he grabbed him by the throat, didn't he?
Yes.
Didn't hit him, I don't think, but
no,
grabbed him by the throat. You'd imagine that would be.
He can't get away without a booking, surely.
No. At this moment, it looks like he might do, but
I won't say it too loudly. Yeah, hang on. Is the book still out? Rose is bent down in front of him. Yes, there we are. So Mitchell Rose will get a yellow card for his reaction as well. Meanwhile, 6 minutes, as I say, were added on. We're 2 minutes into the 6. I'm not sure how much football has actually been played in that 2 minutes, but by the by, also 6 minutes of stoppage time at Field Mill, where that one's finally poised. Stags 1, Northampton 1, and Forest are chasing the game not too far away from here, up over the hills into Huddersfield, where they were losing by 2-1 last time we checked. Free kick taken, flicked up towards the edge of the Halifax penalty area. Still 2-1 confirmed at the John Smith Stadium between Huddersfield and Forest. Kyle Wootton gives away a soft free kick, and I don't blame Kyle Wootton for that. I blame the officials for giving the soft free kick. So 2.5 minutes of the 6 have been played, and I reiterate the point, Mark Stella, that I made quite some time ago. For whatever side can win this game, or perhaps find a dramatic equaliser here for Halifax as the ball goes towards the back stick. It was a Premier League ball from McAlinden, but it was very much firmly a non-league finish from Cameron King, fortunately.
It was, yeah, it was aimed, it was a lovely ball swinging beyond the back post, not from a dissimilar position where Jamie Allen finished for that second Halifax goal in the second half, but this was on the volley, going for the spectacular. Cameron King didn't make contact at all, and it goes out on the far side for a throw-in. But again, a dangerous moment as Neil Ardley looks to recycle his substitutes, bring them back in from the warm-up, and maybe just take a bit of sting out of this game, which is still wide open.
Yeah, I mean, with that miss then from King, and when I say miss, he missed the ball, it was kind of the signal for a lot of the Halifax fans to get up and go, but since then they've kind of stopped and they're gathered around the edge of the pitch instead. One final change for Notts, and it's going to be Mitchell Rose, the man who's just been booked, who also scored 2 goals here today for Notts, very much the hero, who's going to come off, and Tom Crawford will come on. He's being booed by the Halifax supporters, so he applauds them in turn, and there is a round of applause for the Notts fans as well, and as things stand, probably Mitchell Rose's finest game in a Notts shirt.
Well, I was going to say, certainly be a main contributor in this second half. Scored 2 goals, one from the penalty spot, been booked, hit the bar, and then flew into a tackle and maybe could have seen red.
Game is not done yet, though, as Ross Fitzsimons is called into action inside his 6-yard box. Toby shows Silver, the closest Halifax man to him. Go back to that point I cut myself off from. Whichever team can win this game, it would give them a massive boost going into Christmas.
Oh, massive. Christmas always a really important time of the year. You've got games thick and fast. You know you've got a time to pick up a lot of points in a short space of time, and you win that game especially when you've been on a poor run like both these teams have. Pick up them 3 points just fills you with a bit of confidence and belief going into that period of games.
1 minute and 20 seconds remain of the 6 minutes added on at the end of this one. It's with Allen on the right hand side. still on that right wing, but Notts are trying to force the blue shirts back up towards the halfway line. It's cleared away by Nathan Clark, but more high in the air than far away, and now it falls into the feet of Wes Thomas, who turns and sprints into the Halifax half. Notts have got 4 men in this break, but Enzio Baldwin will surely run to the corner flag and try to keep it there. That's exactly what he's done. Blue shirts back there, 2 of them trying to box him out and force him down. He goes down, he'll get a free kick, which will practically be a corner, which will of course be kept in the corner flag area. And with less than a minute remaining now, that should hopefully be that.
Yeah, it comes down to game management. That Enzio, say, first half got into some good crossing opportunities, good crossing positions, and was wasteful. Second half looked like a completely different player. He's put some dangerous balls in. He's looked confident. He's been forward thinking, progressive with his running with the ball, and I think you could go with Notts as a whole, as if this result stays as it is, which a bit of game management, the ball's still in that attacking corner for Notts, they're just running out of time. You'd have to say this has turned into a fantastic away result and away performance for Notts.
Notts have got a throw-in away to the right-hand side. No Notts County supporter going anywhere just yet. They want to celebrate. They might be leaving the areas of the ground where they were sitting or standing, but that's only because they want to get closer to the action. Is that going to be a corner? I think the Notts players thought it should have been a corner, but it's going to be a goal kick instead. We are nearly, very nearly at full time here at the Shay, where Notts are looking at their first league victory since the end of October. Long ball forwards from Halifax, goes back towards the halfway line now. It'll be lifted forwards by Mayer, but it deflects off of Christian Dennis on the way through. The ball bounces up towards the edge of the 18-yard box. Danger not cleared just yet. Out to the right-hand side it goes. Cross into the penalty area, flicks off of a green shirt, and it will be a corner kick for the home side. This is it. The game will come down to this final moment, this final quarter. The Shay will go into absolute raptures if they can get an equaliser here. Notts are winning by 3-2. The ball goes through every single player out onto the left-hand side. 7 minutes have been played now. Another cross for Notts to defend into the penalty area. Fitzsimons comes for it, catches it, and that must surely be that, as Fitzsimons takes his time about getting back to his feet, and many of the Halifax supporters around us get to their feet and consider themselves done and wish the people around them a Merry Christmas, as they won't see them again. The referee's still not blown the whistle, but Notts are on the counter once more to Wootton, who puts the icing on the cake. Notts have a 4th goal in this one. They will win just before Christmas with 98 minutes on the clock. Halifax 2, Notts 4. It's a Merry Christmas for Neil Ardley and Notts County.
Yeah, it certainly is. That is the icing on the cake. I mean, we were waiting from that corner. We were in the 7th minute of stoppage time when that happened, of the 6 that were added on. When that went into Ross Fitzsimon's hands, you thought, well, that's it. He's volleyed the ball down. It's one of the passes of the game to Christian Dennis on the left-hand side. He makes ground down the left-hand side. By this time, Halifax have virtually stopped anyway, because they think the last chance has gone. It certainly has now. But he finds Kyle Wootton inside the penalty area, largely unopposed, and he rolls it beyond Sam Johnson into the corner of the net to get his 2nd of the day. Notts 4th. It looks like Notts are going to win this 4-2.
They will, as the referee blows his full-time whistle. There are boos from the home supporters, but nothing but celebrations from those Notts fans away to our right-hand side. A hard-fought victory for Notts County, who had to come from behind twice in this game, but ultimately win by 4-2.